What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to the Warframe video. So, Lua's Prey comes out in like less than 24 hours. It's actually coming out 11 a.m. ET tomorrow. And we got some early access information to the new Arcane sets. We'll be discussing those in detail today, talking about some potential applications to them, and basically how you're going to get them, because they're not going to be as hard to obtain as you might think. Before we get to, though, we do a live stream on the live stream channel. We will be live streaming Lua's Prey tomorrow at 11 a.m. ET. Hopefully I wake up on time. And yeah, we do daily Warframe video uploads here, too. So if you want to check out all the uploads and see when they're going up, definitely hit that sub button. Alright, so let's just get right into it. What Arcanes do we got to deal with today? So we got 4 different Arcane sets. They'll be for weapons and for Warframes. And we're going to start with the first one that we already know a bunch of information about. We actually have the screenshot of now. That one's going to be called Void Blessed. Now, of course, these numbers and names might change once the update finally comes out, but we're going to go over what we have right now. So, on health orb pickup, plus 24 health, stacked up to 50 times. So, after you pick up 50 health orbs, you will get 1,200 extra max health. So, on my Sevagoth build right now, I've got 850 health, would be at about 2,000-ish. Now, things to keep in mind with that as far as percent-based healings are concerned, that should scale with percent-based healings as well. So if we take a look at what Arcanes I currently have on Sevagoth, oh, and by the way, that is a Warframe Arcane, like I said. So you will have to either take off something like Energize, or on this build I have to take off Avenger, which is very crucial to the build. So that Arcane would not be usable on this build currently, where I'm trying to go for red crits and stuff. But we're talking about some other Arcanes later that might be more of a good fit for a build like this. So, but yeah, so as far as things like Arcane Grace, let's say you're running on a Naros. This is going to give you 6% health regeneration for 9 seconds. That's percent of your maximum health, and it does scale when you have like health mods on there. So maybe on a frame like a Naros, since usually you run Grace and then like one other Arcane of unknown origin. So I've currently got Grace and Guardian. Guardian's gonna give me 900 more armor. A Naros doesn't usually have the most armor, so I thought this was pretty good. But hey, if I can get 1,200 extra health instead, I think I might end up putting with this on a Naros combined with Grace. We'd be at, how much health would that be? I'm at around 10,000. I'm at 10,000 health, so we'd be at about 11,200 health with this, which would definitely scale Arcane Grace more. But the main problem is going to be, it's the main armor problem we always have, armor and health problem we always have. It's like, if you get high enough level, the enemies do one-shot you. And you can't really do anything about that. So, could be pretty good with Tharos Strike. Could be pretty good with Zata's Whisper, which is, we made a Naros video on this like about a month ago. This build with that mod sounds like it'll be, with the Arcane might be pretty decent, but still gonna get one shot eventually. All right, moving on past the one that will probably not get used too much besides like a Naros and then like a couple other frames. We're moving on to the first one we didn't know about until today. It's gonna be called Arcane Rise. This one will be for the Warframe as well, so this will go on like the Arcane Energize slot or whatever if you want to run it. On reload, 60% chance for 150% damage to primary weapons for 24 seconds. Okay, so you're going to be getting a 60% chance on reload to give increased damage to primaries for 24 seconds. So I immediately read that and think Tankor. You know, you reload after every shot, or even something like the Vectis even. So every shot, you're going to reload it. So since it's not going to be a weapon Arcane, you can still run your primary Merciless, you can still run your Dexterity or Deadhead or whatever, but you'll be getting the damage from your Arcane slot in your frame. So already it's like, I don't really want to become less tanky in a Naros. I don't have a damage problem with my Tankor. Why would I ever run this Arcane? That's kind of how I'm thinking right now. The fact that it is 60% chance is decent proc chance, but it's 150 damage. If we compare it to the other like primary damage Arcanes, I believe it's like not even comparable. That's why I'm thinking this might be subject to change. So Arcane Blade Charger. It's a 30% chance to proc, but it's 300% increased damage. Same with Primary Charger working on primaries. 300% increased damage. And the one we just looked at is 150. Arcane Rage on headshot, 180% increased damage. It might be a 50% chance, but this does take multi-shot into account too. So you actually are probably going to be more reliably proccing Arcane Rage quickly than proccing whatever this new one's called, Arcane Rise. So Arcane Rise looks like a total trash Arcane, and they should probably increase the, not increase the proc chance, well, make the proc chance guaranteed or something, but increase the damage or something, dude. This one does not look that great, especially because it's using a Warframe Arcane slot. As far as like builds I'd use a Warframe Arcane slot for damage, it's usually going to be something where it's hard to get base damage in the first place, like on Korra, where I'm using Arcane Fury on critical hit, increased melee damage, because you can't get base damage very easily on Korra stat sticks, unless you have a Riven, Prime Pressure Point, etc., because Condition Overload does not work on Korra's stat stick. So it's things like that. It's like, okay, so for situations where I'm having not enough base damage, I don't think that situation is very common at all. Like, honestly, let's see. I think on Revenant I was using Arcane. I was using Arcane Acceleration, so I was using Fire Rate. Honestly, Fire Rate's gonna be more useful than base damage for weapons, for primary weapons most of the time. So on something like this, where this is a build based around using the Quelor on Revenant with Tharos Strike, I don't think I'm going to need more damage. The Quelor does enough damage to kill like level 10,000 anyway, it just has a fire rate problem. So on weapons that don't have a fire rate problem, they have more of a damage problem, and also reload quite often, I guess, but I'm trying to think of what types of weapons those would even be. So, yeah, not going to dwell too much on Arcane Rise. Might just be a dud, unfortunately. Moving on to the third, we have two more, including this one. This one's called Icy Revenge. This will be for the primary weapon, so it's going to be in your slot for, like, Dexterity, Merciless, blah, 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 Deadhead, etc. On cold status effect, increases crit damage by 3% and multi-shot by 2.25 for 12 seconds, stacking up to 12x. So, I mean, 2.25 times 12 is not going to be as much as it sounds like, or as much as you would hope, actually. So that's going to be 27% multi-shot, so enough to get you almost 100% multi-shot with a non-galvanized mod, if you know what I'm talking about. Certain mods in this game, actually no, I'm thinking about Rivens. So some Rivens will give you 70% multi-shot. Hell's Chamber is going to give you 120. Galvanized Chamber fully stacked up is 230. So if we get 27% more multi-shot on that, it's not going to even make a difference. I'm more thinking about that crit damage maybe being worth it. Maybe worth it's the wrong word, but at least interesting. So you're getting multi-shot and crit damage. You're going to be getting about... actually, no, it's stacked up to 40 times. I apologize. I'm misreading it. It says multi-shot for 12 seconds stacks up to 40 times. Okay, so 2.25 times 40. That's going to be 90% multi-shot. Okay, now we're talking. So once this is stacked up, you get 90% multi-shot, 120% crit damage. All right. I was about to say 27% multi-shot is nothing. Okay, so that's the exact opposite now. So since we have 230% multi-shot with Galvanized Hell, you're going to be at 320% multi-shot with the Icy Revenge fully stacked up. But here's the problem. You need a mod for cold damage somehow. And the combinations that allow you to do cold damage purely are not very high. You're thinking about Corrosive Cold, basically, Radiation Cold. That's pretty much it, I'm pretty sure. Unless there's another one I'm forgetting about. It's usually Radiation Cold and Corrosive Cold. It's also going to want to be a crit weapon. So as far as weapons that can build that, keeping in mind this will not work on a viral build at all, because viral is a combination element of viral. So you'd go for a cold 100 munitions build, I suppose. So you're going to want a weapon that can pump out cold procs pretty quickly. Let's just grab something. How about the Aeolock? Actually, yeah, the Aeolock will be fine for now. So just grab a random weapon. So what we have on here is we have built-in radiation damage. So I've got a viral radiation build. We definitely would want to go something like I said, Corrosive Cold. Let's see if we can throw that together here. We'd want our electric. We want our you can actually search corrosive in this bar if you didn't know that. So corrosive, and then we want to have the cold mod at the end. So now we have a Corrosive Cold build. As you can see, the cold damage is not super high. We have a lot of things to proc here, but we have very high status chance. So maybe something like this, where you have like a crit Corrosive Cold build, I suppose. Or additionally, maybe Corrosive Cold is not a good combination. It's usable, but it's not great. How about Frost? I'm thinking Frost with his Freezing Force Augment mod could maybe be decent for this. And if you don't know what Frost Freezing Force Augment mod does, it's going to basically make it where additional cold damage is provided to yourself and your allies. Now, it's not going to make it where your weapon's doing like viral cold. As you can see right here, I've got a Epitaph build with viral and heat. So if I was to use, and I've got a Zaw build of corrosive purely, so it can maybe be Corrosive Cold there. It's not going to make it where it's viral cold. It's just going to make it like a combined element. So let's just showcase that real quick. Keeping in mind this is for primaries only. The Epitaph has built-in cold procs, so that's probably a bad example. So, this thing doesn't have the best status chance, but it can proc cold now. It technically has cold on the build. Okay, well, either way, Probably not going to be super phenomenal, as you are replacing Merciless Deadhead or Dexterity for that. But, you know, at least a interesting idea to give us crit damage and multi-shot from an Arcane, but we're sacrificing base damage. Maybe that's what they're thinking. You get the base damage from this Arcane Rise on your frame, which is not a lot. I honestly just use a different one if you want base damage that badly. And then you get some extra multi-shot crit damage from your primary Arcane. And also, this does not require kills. So if you're using a weapon that procs cold really fast, like something we were talking about, like a high fire rate weapon, maybe a cold build on something. Cold damage is really not amazing, has no damage over time tied to it, and it's got okay multipliers, but it's going to really be up to you. Maybe the Cedo. How about the Cedo? The Cedo has built-in cold procs. That could be good. So you're going to be using that. You're going to be getting multi-shot and crit damage on the Cedo, and then you get base damage from your frame, I suppose. Yeah, it might just be good for the Cedo specifically. All right, so we go on to the last one here, not waste too much time theory crafting on this. I'm sure there will be some applications for this being good. It's going to be a lot of build crafting to make sure it's actually worth it. And as far as it stands right now, the level of build crafting we're going for is more than enough for this game. All right, moving on to the last final Arcane. This one's called Conjunction Voltage. On electric, status effect increases reload speed and multi-shot for 12 seconds, stacking up to 40 times. That's going to be for secondaries. So this would probably be better on a primary, honestly, because it's electric status effects, and there are some electric high fire rate, high status chance weapons in the primary slot. So as far as this one giving us reload speed and multi-shot, it's going to be a lot of multi-shot, actually. 140% multi-shot, or 120% multi-shot. And it's going to be, the reload speed to be, let's see, it's going to be like about 50-ish%, I'm going to say, for the multi-shot, so, or for the reload speed. So, 60% reload speed is not super phenomenal, but let's see what we can actually apply this to. So, of course, you're trying to proc electric procs on this. So what you could easily do, now unfortunately this is not going to be, this could be good for a conditioned overload procer, honestly it could. So you could maybe switch this doesn't need reload speed, honestly, but maybe instead of viral heat, we could go viral electric here. Since it's per proc, this thing knocks out procs really fast, you get 140% status chance, you'll be able to get those 40 stacks quite easily, and that's going to give you a bunch more multi-shot, so you can proc your conditioned overload with this thing faster. So that right there, that's probably enough to get all the stacks we needed for our Arcane. So quite easy with the Epitaph, with that big AoE, that big status chance. So yeah, that's something you could do, but like I said, this thing does not need reload speed, so you might want to look for something that's a little bit more interesting with it. So there's potentially the Histrix Prime. This thing has built-in forced procs with its special gimmick. So it does reload quite often, but Cascadia Flare is quite nice on this, so keep that in mind. So I'm not going to even mod for electric here. I'm going to switch to the electric quill. So the way this thing works, I'm on the poison quill right now, guaranteed toxin procs. I push the alt fire button, I can switch between fire, ice, and electric. Now since this thing needs electric and it's not the cold one, we will be going with the electric quill here. Now just watch out how often this thing reloads. So getting some, yeah, that would have been massively increased reload speed there. We'd also have some heavily increased multi-shot, and then the thing just starts tearing through enemies. So on the Histrix, maybe, but like I said, this is a semi-auto weapon, or not semi, this is a single target weapon that already has a pretty good arcane that it uses with Cascadia Flare. So there's the Ice Quill. Of course, the Ice Quill, like I said, is not going to really be utilized as that other arcane is for primaries. This one's for secondaries. So reload speed might be okay on the Histrix. You can always, now the nice thing about this one, unlike the cold one, is that you can actually make a viral electric build pretty good, but making like a corrosive cold build is going to be a little bit more effort to really have it shine over like just a purely corrosive build, because you're using another mod slot to get that cold damage, which is probably not going to be worth it a lot of the time. So those are your 4 arcane sets. As far as like a quick run over of how they are, in my opinion, Void Blessed, the one that gives you health on Health Orb, maybe fun on Anaros and a couple other frames, but overall pretty useless and bad. We need more help than just more overall HP. We need enemy damage, EHP, and all that kind of stuff recalculated and maybe fixed up for armor and health scaling on our part, because armor and health scaling does not feel that great at high levels. Moving on to the second one, Arcane Rise. I'd say it's probably the worst out of the bunch, from what I can tell. The proc chance is high, but the damage number is low. The proc duration is at least kind of decent, but I don't see why I would ever use this when we have other arcanes that are just as easy to proc. For example, that one that gives you 180% damage on headshot. That just sounds so much easier to proc, because I don't have to be spamming reload until like basically fishing for the reload from like Arcane Awakening or whatever to get this to proc. So hopefully they buff this one. Pretty bad in my opinion. And then moving on to the third one, Icy Revenge, on cold status effect, giving you crit damage and multi-shot. The one I couldn't read at first. So basically, I like the idea of this one, but it feels like there was a conscious effort to make this anti-meta. The builds that would love this are, Viral Hunter Munitions build. But I'm not going to be modding for cold damage solely on my Viral Hunter Munitions build. It's going to be a combined elemental of like Toxin and Cold put together. That being said, it's going to probably be able to get used if I do a cold build, or if it's outside cold procs. So yeah, like I said, if Frost can proc, if he can use his 4, freeze everything in the area, and I get full stacks of this, I can just still run a viral build on my primary. So we'll have to see if that ends up working, because Cascadia Flare does work from heat proc abilities and like Nightwatch Napalm and stuff. So if that does work, maybe like a lens stat stick. Actually, wait, this is for primary, so no. We'll have to figure something out. But if it procs from other outside sources, it has some potential. If not, it's going to require some more effort for sure. And then the final one, Conjunction Voltage. I think this one actually might be okay for Condition Overload proccing secondaries. As far as for DPS, I do think it will be pretty good on the Histrix, and probably some other weapons I'm forgetting about right now. Like the Quats, for example, does like an AoE electric proc on reload, so that could be kind of cool. There's Tenant weapons you could get like electric elements on or whatever, so it's got some potential, especially because you can make a viral electric build, unlike a corrosive cold build, quite nice. So overall, a little bit underwhelming on the Arcane's front. I'm wondering when we're going to get some like exciting, crazy stuff like, Status Arcane Avenger, or an Arcane. I've been asking for years a reload speed Arcane for shotguns. We only have if you look at it, we have like no reload Arcanes in this game for Warframes. There's Molt Reconstruct, I think it's called, but that is taking away damage. So reload speed for snipers here, but for nothing else, basically. Oh, here's the other one I was comparing it to. Arcane Awakening on reload, 60% chance. Wait. Did they just copy-paste Arcane Awakening over for the frame? I think they just copy-pasted Arcane Awakening over. Yeah, I think they did. 150... 60% chance on reload to... for 150%. Yeah, they just copy-pasted it over. Okay, yeah, that's probably going to get changed, because that is just a dud right there. Okay, Arcane Awakening for primaries. Took me that long to figure that. If you got this far in the video, make sure you say something in the comments, guys. I appreciate all the support. I will see you tomorrow morning for the stream and videos every single day. It might even be multiple videos per day, guys. I really appreciate all the support. And yeah, I'll get all the info out and test all those builds out and stuff like that. Appreciate it. Take it easy. Peace!